I just sat down and I just said to myself, I don't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. I know I deserve better, and I'm not going to wait for these people to see my words. I'm going to chase it.
You think I've done a stalk? Let me just introduce you. All right. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Bittersweet podcast. It's your girl, Wintana. And this week I have a very, very, very special guest. This is a man of many talents. We have Jeff Kissubi, who is a model, activist, speaker, content creator. The list goes on. Phenomenal, honestly.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Thanks very much for having me today.
I'm excited to have you. I feel I've been watching your content from afar, and I just love how many things you go into. I think when I first saw you, it was your modeling. Yeah, it would have been your modeling, but you are so vocal about your the politics just politics in general, which I think is really amazing. Because I was saying off camera, we don't have a lot of people that are openly doing that.
No, especially in Australia.
In Australia, yeah. I think obviously because it's from a PR perspective, it's kind of which you gotta be mindful about what you're posting. But I can respect that you're just out there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, before we get into, you're like, yes, that's what I do. Before we get into your story, because I'm a stalker. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to deep dive. So I was like, I have a million questions for him. Let's do an icebreaker. So we do a little icebreaker on this show. The first, what I have is this or that for you. Also, pronouns.
He, him.
Okay, I don't know. Some people just I just need to be sure. Yeah. Okay, cool. So would you rather?
Yes.
I have 10 different ones here, about 10. First one, loyalty or love?
Loyalty. Because I feel like loyalty is something very important. You can definitely fall out of love. It'll come and go. But loyalty is something that's very strong. I think it's bounded by so many things. So
Facts.
Loyalty.
My mom always said, someone can love you, but if they don't respect you, it's over.
That's true.
It's over.
It is.
Yeah. I think I'm with you on that one. Loyalty for sure. Wealth with no time or time with no wealth?
Time with no wealth.
Okay, talk about it.
All right. I say this because I feel like I have a different perspective in regards to how I see wealth. Because I do think wealth is quantified by people saying that it's monetary funds.
Yeah.
But I do think wealth itself is just you being happy, you know?
Oh, true. Rich in life through other things, right?
In other things. And I feel like, yes, we live in a capitalistic world. It would be good if we have money. But also, if you don't have time, how are you going to enjoy all of that money?
Yeah. That's something, you're absolutely right. And it's something that I have to change I've realized now, maybe in the last 2 years, really, really realized I need to change my perspective on money. I feel like I've been raised in a way that's kind of that scarcity mindset. And I talk about it a lot on the podcast.
Yeah.
Obviously, coming, parents of refugees, they come here, the hustle.
Yeah.
And my mind is I need to have money to enjoy life. But you don't, you know what I mean? And I know that logically, if I had money, I'd be okay.
Yes.
It wouldn't make a big difference.
Big difference.
Yeah. Or it would, if I had money and no family and friends and people around me, I would struggle.
Yes.
But we need to work on that.
Exactly. I feel like it's hard.
It's hard
to remove yourself from that mentality, because obviously that's your fight or right, because you think that's what it is, and you feel like you have to have that in a sense that it'll give you that sense of security, which it does, to be honest.
It does, yeah.
But
because
also,
if I was broke, I'm sorry, I would be so depressed.
No.
I cannot be a broke woman on this earth. I'm so sorry.
We're not claiming that energy.
We're not claiming that.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. All right. After we said all this, we're but anyways, experience over material gifts.
Experience.
Okay.
Experience.
So you would rather take a massage and go out to a day spa over someone giving you a Prada sunglasses or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Travel for activities or relaxation?
Travel for activities.
Really?
I'm an activity guy. Yeah.
You are from an island.
Yeah, I know. I was jumping on rocks in the ocean and stuff from coconut
You
trees.
were the kid that was just doing the most. No, I feel like I was like you for a long time,
Yeah.
but now I'm constantly on.
Yeah.
I actually just I want to switch my brain off when I go.
Just switch it off.
I just want to go away.
Relax.
Yeah, because sometimes when we have a list of things to do when we're on holiday, that in itself stresses me out.
True.
If we have to meet the schedule, we have to be here by this time, and I'm on holiday. I paid money to be here.
I've already clocked out. When I jump on the plane, leave me
maybe
alone.
if you say, "Hey, let's go," after we eat, should we go and do this activity?
Yeah.
I'd be down to do that. I don't want to schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
I'm so anti-schedule. I hate it. Okay. Would you rather have unlimited energy all day or never need more than 4 hours of sleep?
Okay. That's. I'm just trying to think about how I operate with that. I would say 4 hours.
You would rather never need more than 4 hours,
4 hours
of sleep.
sleep,
Really?
yeah.
Explain that.
I feel like sleep is very important. But also sleep does not buy you time.
True.
True. And I feel like sometimes, yes, it does make sense. Like I feel like your body is dependent on how much sleep you get.
Yeah.
But if you could get the chance to choose,
Yeah.
I feel like in a sense you would be doing a little bit more or experiencing more things within that time frame than what you were doing, just having the time for you to
That's
sleep.
fair. That's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
And maybe if the 4 hours of sleep didn't affect the way that I felt or looked, is it going to affect my physical appearance? Am I going to have do you know what I mean? Am I going to look tired? What's the
There has to be a catch.
Yeah,
There
100%.
has to be a catch, yes.
I think for me, I would do unlimited energy because maybe the fact that it might mess with me that I haven't slept.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though I don't need it.
But you have that unlimited energy every day. It doesn't
It would get
stop.
exhausting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you rather give up sugar forever or give up salt forever?
Hey.
Are you a sweet tooth?
Wait. No, I'm not. So I would say salt.
Yeah. Oh wait, give up salt?
No, I would
Give
say
up
sugar.
Yeah. Me too.
Sugar.
Sugar can go.
Yeah.
Sugar can go. I don't get excited when people say I have chocolates.
Yeah, because I was like, salt? Yeah, I need my food to be salty.
I need my food
Seasoning,
to have
sometimes,
seasoned.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But sweet, I think I can be okay without it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Would you rather find true love today or win the lottery next year?
Damn. Give me that lottery. Give me that lottery.
Because I can find true love again.
Exactly.
I'm so sorry. I feel like we have more than one soulmate. It might just not be that one. Give me that lottery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, final one.
Yes.
Replace traditional standardized testing with hands-on skilled-based assessments.
Oh, all right.
Hands-on.
Hands-based skills assessment.
Yeah.
I agree because I do think traditional testing methods are very outdated. In a way, like it's very anti everything else that is not. Let's just talk about academia for
Yeah.
an example.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when I went to school, like the school that I went to, it was very like academia, like focus, and it was all about you were either this or that.
Mm-hmm.
And all the other kids that was not, intelligent in the sense that they could, memorize things, which pretty much that's what,
That's what school, like, it
literally
really
it's just
is,
about
honestly.
memorizing things
Yeah.
and then just regurgitating it.
Facts.
Because most of the time you don't learn a lot of things.
No,
unless
you don't.
Yeah, unless you're interested in something, you will learn.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's about memorizing it. And I do think, like these tests, they take away from other people that actually don't have the skills to actually do these things. And I feel like it's very outdated.
Yeah.
And in a way, it just makes you alienated from the aspect of maybe if you're not good at maths or physics or any of the academic subject, you're not going to go anywhere in your life, which I
Yeah.
feel like it's not the case,
100%. I know so many people that struggle with, even like when it comes to exams, like the anxiety behind the actual
Yeah.
exam is where they flop. But they've been good the whole year And then when it comes to the actual testing,
It's crazy,
they can't do it. And it's hard because everything kind of like it boils down to that moment.
It does.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is your like area that you're like you can't mess that up.
You can't.
Because like you don't get a second. I mean, sometimes you do, but most of the time
Most times
you
you don't. You really don't. And some people, even from my experience, I was a crammer. Like I was someone that if I had to memorize something, give me 3 days.
3 days.
But after that,
You don't go, it's gone.
I will be, it's not, I definitely think hands-on is better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's move on to the actual interview. Right, so I wanted to talk to you about, there's so much I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
I did a deep dive on who you are. I said I had to do my research. And you're such an interesting person. Investigation. So you're from Seychelles?
Yeah, I'm from Seychelles.
Okay,
yes.
And you moved to Australia, how was it, 11 years ago?
11 years ago.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about what Seychelles is like?
Wow. I think first of all, it's just crazy that I feel like when I talk about Seychelles, it's like another aspect of my life because I lived in Seychelles since I was 19.
Okay.
So I grew up in Seychelles.
Yeah.
I, went to school. I had the island life. It was very chilled, very quiet. Pretty much, summer every day. It's pretty hot, warm. Went to the beach. I think like I had like a pretty much like very island life childhood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was the population that large?
No, so it's only like 100,000 people.
Wow.
Only 100,000.
Do you feel like in the island, is the island obviously split into?
It's split in.
Okay.
So you have the main island, which is where I grew up, which is Mahe, and then you have another 3 islands which has population on it. You have Ladig and Prale.
Yeah.
But these 2 islands, you need to get there via plane, which takes 15 minutes, or via boat, which
Really?
takes 40 minutes. Yeah.
So what is island life like?
So now that I think of it, it was just like very chilled.
Yeah.
Like we went to school, like I grew up in where I stayed in the north part of the island.
Yeah.
Like all sides of the islands has district.
Yeah.
Like in Australia we have states, but they have district.
Okay.
So all districts are different, and all districts, I think there's like I forgot, I think 18. So all of them has a school. So if you're in the northern district, you will go to a specific school, and then, it's very different. So I grew up going to school, like a school that was not far from me. We walked to school every day.
Okay.
And sometimes, we'd finish school with my friends. We'd just go straight to the beach, in my school uniform.
Yeah. So it sounds wholesome, I can't lie.
It did.
It sounds very wholesome.
It was like, I didn't think of it back then about how it was different. But now that I think of it, I was like, it was very like chilled, like fun. And like I had a very, fun, crazy childhood. I did some crazy things. So
Give me one crazy thing that you did.
So we had like this rock in the middle of the ocean that was next to the main road.
Yeah.
So we were not able to climb it because, it was,
Yeah,
it was a
it's
rock just in the middle of the ocean. So one day, my group of friends, we decided we finished school, we're going to climb it.
Yeah.
So we finished school, went in my school uniform, we were climbing the rock, and then all of a sudden I could hear my mom like screaming, "Jeff, is that you?"
Yeah.
And then like we were hiding on the rock, and and obviously my mom
on the rock? She could see you on top of the rock.
From the main road, and I was like hiding on the rock, and then like as I got down, she literally gave me a beating.
It's like, when kids do the whole like close your eyes and you can't see other people, but really.
She whooped me. She actually took my uniform and made me walk in my underwear from the main road until home. I was so embarrassed. Yeah, Mommy gave me trauma.
This is an African mother. Like, she said, "I will show you. You will never climb that rock again." And did you?
I did. I told you I was a rebel. I did.
Gosh. So what made you 19 years old? What made you move to Australia?
19.
Why? You said 19, right?
Yeah, 19 when I decided, and then 20 when I actually left. So 20.
Okay.
So obviously my family, my mom's side, moved to Australia back in the 80s. So my great-grandmother, the mother of my grandmother. So I've already been to Australia for a couple of times because we visit family here.
Okay.
So in terms of, I kind of like already had an idea of I love Australia as a country.
Yeah.
Because I've been here, but obviously it was not something that I thought about. I want to move to Australia.
Okay.
So when I finish high school, which is year 11, 12 equivalent here, I went to university because I went to university to become a French teacher.
Wait,
Don't ask
what?
me why. That's initially what
That is so specific as
it was
well.
very specific
Yeah.
because at that point, it's crazy because I feel like now it's like full circle because
Yeah.
I thought I wanted to become a teacher and now what I do, what I do now is
Yeah.
very
It's educational. Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do. But then I realized that there were so many things that Jeff wanted to do. But I think one thing I realized back then is I just wanted to escape.
Escape where you were from.
Yeah, escape like things that obviously led to me coming to Australia that we're going to talk about. Like I grew up in Seychelles. I went to high school, primary school. I didn't have the best high school experience. I was very shy, reserved, and it's very interesting because now I'm very
Yeah.
talkative. I'm very
Open.
vocal.
Yeah.
So it took me like a while to navigate all of that, especially as a child, because I feel like when I went to school, people just like used that against me and just used me as a target to bully me. So I didn't have a good experience, in school, and I did not like school, to be honest, at all. And when I was in high school, I had an instance that I was severely bullied, and then like I just had to stop school for a bit because it just kept getting
Really?
worse. The kids were very mean, and also for whatever reason at that time, my hair decided to fall off, so I started getting alopecia.
No way.
Yes, I
Okay.
developed a specific type of alopecia that pretty much was like in circle, so my hair just started falling off like in circle
Just like in
in
sections of
patches.
patches.
And I remember that for me, just obviously my confidence at that time
Of
was already
course.
bad.
Yeah.
It literally just shattered it. And I remember having to go to school and having to like sit in class whilst kids look at my hair and being very conscious about that. It was just like,
That would have been very like a really tough thing. Anything
it
at that
was.
age, going to school
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in prep here,
Yeah.
I had these like I had like these sores in my hair
Yeah.
basically. I'm not sure what it was,
Yeah.
but my mum was like, you have to shave it all off.
Oh my
Imagine a girl, a
God,
black girl
no,
in a very white
no.
school, and I had to shave my head. So I would walk around. I was bald basically at
Oh
the
my
age of 7 or
God.
6, and I'd have a pink hat that I would wear everywhere. School. I look at those photos. I'm like, and I remember these girls asking me to take it off. Like they cornered me, and they were like, "Can we just see?" It was in the bathroom, and I was just so anxious. I just remember feeling like I really don't want to show them, but it was like the older girls. You know how they do like prep and grade 1 in the same
Yes.
class?
Yeah.
So 2 girls that were older than me, and they're like, just show us, da, da, da. And obviously the moment that you show them, you think it's gonna be, they're gonna be like, oh, it's okay. The girl, they dragged,
Yeah.
they laughed,
Yeah.
and I couldn't. Can you imagine a little girl? So
I
yeah, I can,
know.
obviously I can't fully relate to
Yeah.
what you were experiencing, but
Yeah.
also like in a way I
Very
can understand. Yeah,
similar.
yeah.
Yeah, that would have shattered
Kids are
you.
brutal.
They're brutal.
Kids are brutal.
No filter. No. And I'm like, I used to just go home and I'm like, why? Why me? Like
yeah, of
why?
course.
Why do they pick me? But anyways, I think, we can't I can't think about it in the sense that it did affect me, but obviously it made me the Jeff that I am today. And I'm very grateful for the experience that I've had and I've grown from it. And I've never obviously hold back to these things because I feel like, kids were what they did and, you can't let that have power
Of
over
course,
you when
of
you
course.
do, things and when you move on and go do things that's different.
Yeah, of course. So you moved to Australia.
Yes.
Was that for you? What was the catalyst for you?
So the
Just you already
catalyst,
knew.
so after I finished, I went to university to become a French teacher. I kind of like did not see that for me. So I kind of like quit. And obviously you can imagine when you quit, like university, my mom went into a frenzy,
Of course.
like, oh my God. Mind you guys, I come from my sister. She's always been an A-star student. She's a doctor. So you can imagine how much that was a disappointment on the
Of
family.
course,
So they were
yeah.
like, oh, what are you going to do with your life now? So long story short, I then got a job at the airport. Jeff is a jack of many trades.
This is what I saw. I remember. I think I saw a photo of you, and yeah, you were talking about your transition.
So I got a job at the airport and I saw a job opening for me to apply as an air traffic controller. And I did.
Okay.
And I applied for obviously the test and then obviously the recruitment. And I was one of the youngest to be recruited. I just freshly turned 18.
Yeah.
And I started my training.
As a
Training air traffic controller.
training air
So
traffic controller.
pretty
Okay.
much it was just working in a tower and I was working with people that obviously were licensed controller, pretty much like the people that would tell the plane to land, giving
Oh,
them
yes,
directions,
yes.
separate them,
Yep.
you know, giving their radar information. And obviously like that kind of like led to where my love for aviation started. Because before that I always wanted to become a pilot. Always.
Talk about it, because one of the things that came up, I said, this man is just, how are you doing all these things? You're going to be that old man that had like 20 different lives. You know, those people that just like, yeah, I did this one day.
Yeah,
I did this. It's like, when did you find the time?
Yes.
You are a licensed pilot, right?
Yes. I can fly plane, guys.
Period. So, did you become a pilot in Seychelles,
No,
or
it
you?
was here.
Okay.
So I kind of like when I did air traffic control, I remember just doing it, and when I passed my training and I validated, I started working. It was very different because I started working with people that were very older than me.
Yeah.
And that was a disconnect, and I found it really hard just for me to integrate in that working environment. And then it was just like some other things as well that just did not make the workplace somewhere that I actually liked working. And then one day I came to work and I remember it was like a normal day in the afternoon. I just sat down and I just said to myself, I don't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. I know I deserve better and I'm not going to wait for these people to see my words. I'm going to chase it. Because I already had in my, like from a very young age, I know it sounds crazy. I knew that where I would be and where I would do things never would be, you know, in Seychelles. Like I always had an inkling feeling that my journey would take me somewhere and it was not where I grew up. And I know like people sound crazy. They're like, oh my God, like, but I always felt like I just felt that one day I would do things.
I really understand that.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because I feel like when you admit it, it
Yes.
sounds like, it's like you sound like a bit, what's the word? Maybe not up yourself or someone that you just, it's like relax.
Yeah.
That's how I feel when but
Yeah.
I genuinely like there was, and I don't know what God has planned for me.
Yes.
And I don't think I ever fully understood or understand now, but I also have that feeling where I'm like, I just feel like there's something else that's there for me that I'm supposed to be doing. And as you can see, it's led you to all the different things that you've done, and obviously you're here now and you're like very
has.
successful.
It
Yeah, so I know the feeling. It just sounds crazy when you admit it out loud.
When you admit it out loud,
Yeah.
it's very like, but when I was like younger, I always knew, like
Yeah.
I knew that one day, like that little boy will be somewhere and doing good things and doing great things. And I feel like, yeah, it's very crazy saying it now, but I feel like that probably also led me to why I came to Australia. So after, obviously, I went to work and I sat down. I was like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I deserve better. I see myself doing better, and I'm going to chase my dreams. And I made it happen. You know, like I think like in a span of like 2 months, I jumped online, applied for university. I was like, I'm going to Australia to study. I got like a letter of offer to study it at university. And pretty much the rest is history. I came here to do a degree in business management, which is what I did. Because I was like, I need to come here and do something.
And do something, yeah.
And then, yeah, after that, yeah, like, well, how's that? Like 11 years later, that's, yeah.
Everything kind of started to unfold.
Everything unfolded and it all led to something, you know. Everything that you do in your life, it all leads to your greater purpose, and I stand by that. Like,
Is that like whether you know it or you don't know it, or
whether you know it or you don't know it, because I feel like all of these things are very intertwined with each other. And people say sometimes you need to know the sign. You don't need to know the sign. You just need to know
just
to
do
do it when it's right. And I felt like if I never, at that day I went to work and sat down and said I never want to do this for the rest of my life, I would still be there. I would still be miserable, and I would not be here today.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
would never have done all the things that I've done.
it's very courageous, and I don't
Yes.
think a lot of people take risks because obviously it's like it's nerve-wracking, like what's on the other side. And we always you hear you know what I realized in life? All the cliche sayings are very real.
Yes.
They're so real. And I hate that because it's like, shut up. But it's true. Like, obviously, what is the saying about failure?
Yes.
I'm the worst. I always butcher the sayings. It's something like, anyway, it's something to do with failing. But basically, like, if you try and you failed, you haven't.
Yes, like
Failed.
if you've tried and you fail, at least you're giving yourself the chance for you to try. Because if you don't try at all, you'd never try.
You never try. You failed if you
never
don't try. Do you know what I mean? You
experienced.
actually fail if you don't try, and you just end
Yeah.
up stuck and like not really like pushing yourself and seeing where you could go and like what you
True.
could potentially achieve. So I fully stand by it too. I understand. I just know how it can be really nerve-wracking.
Yes.
But yeah, you came to Australia. You studied management. At what point did you become a pilot?
So I studied management. At that time I finished my studies, and then at the time I had a friend. Oh my God, this is I had a friend that usually had a job opening at Chadstone to
Okay.
work at Top Juice.
Okay.
And
Top juice is like Boost juice?
Boost Juice.
Okay.
Yes. It was at Chadstone. And at the time I was just like, oh my God, like I need a job.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Came at the right time. I was like, I'll do it. So pretty much I worked there as a team member, helping one of my friends. And then long story short, team member started, doing full time, and I started working there as a manager.
Nice.
And at the time as well, I realized that this is the perfect opportunity for me to use this in my advantage to actually do what I really want and actually give myself the chance to chase that dream that I had at a very young age.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what happened. I think I worked for 2.5 years. So I saved up, and then I applied to my flight school that I chose, which is in Moorabbin, and then I got accepted.
But what made you want to become a pilot? Was it always...
I think it was always something that little Jeff always wanted to do.
Okay.
But obviously, at the time, there were so many things I had to battle, just from my childhood, from my upbringing, and other things that I went through that never led me to that path because I was sidetracked by other things. But in a way, I was like, I owe myself that just for me to experience, what little Jeff always wanted.
Yeah, and I love that you push yourself to do that. I feel like, and you tell me if I'm wrong, I feel like people that come from overseas, especially because I've got cousins that that have migrated from Africa,
Yeah.
and the hustle mentality
Yes.
is on it. They're on
Yeah.
it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I think in Australia there's a bit of, we're complacent a little bit, and
Yes.
we don't I guess dream as big because we don't see much.
No.
And every time I go to Ethiopia, I
Yeah.
come back, my eyes open up,
You're
and I'm
like,
like, oh wow, like there's so much that we can do.
Yeah.
But sometimes it feels like technically you can do whatever you want to do. But
can.
sometimes it does feel like, to get up, wake up and be like, I'm going to be a pilot.
Yeah.
It feels so outside of my scope and outside of what I know.
Yeah.
But do you feel like coming to Australia, with obviously being from Seychelles, coming here, and you have this mentality of like, I'm just going to come in, do you think that motivated you more? Or do you think you have more of that drive in you compared to the people that you see here or the people you're around?
Yeah, I do feel like coming from Seychelles, because I was very fixated of what I wanted.
Yeah.
Like even coming from Seychelles, I knew like I would use, coming here to get, to be a pilot, because
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to do. And I do feel like I was very goal driven. And yeah, I do feel, because of my other cousins, I have a lot of cousins here, like looking at them, looking at their upbringing, their experience, it was very like chill. They were just,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to university. I'm not
Yeah.
going to university. Oh, I'm going to differ for a year.
Yeah.
And it was very like laid back in a
Yeah.
sense, but I was just like very fixated in what I wanted. And I think that mindset, that drive has also helped me in doing a lot of things. And being disciplined.
Yeah.
I've always been disciplined.
I love that for you. How?
Yes.
Teach us, because I feel like I don't feel like I have discipline. I'm like organized chaos. I will get
Yes.
the job done,
But
but the way we got it done,
in the time frame, okay.
you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think discipline has been like my biggest battle, and like has
Yes.
been something like this year I'm like, you really need to step up,
up,
because
yeah.
I'd struggle with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like also like we talk about goals and ambition. I think like if you have set goals in what you really want, there's nothing stopping you.
Yeah.
And like that's where I feel like I had to navigate that. Just moving to a new country, getting on that plane with a one flight, like a one-way flight ticket to Australia. I never knew what it would transcend after, but I knew that I had to do it. And you have to be disciplined.
Yeah.
You have to like do things sometimes without intent and purpose behind it. Not because you want to do something that's crazy and irrational, because yes, all right, let's use our common sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are things that are irrational, but if you have a goal and ambition and purpose, it will lead you to exactly where you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to be disciplined.
You have to be disciplined.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that you have to kind of just do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say it was not easy. Like
It's not easy.
It was not easy. Like I'd say this now, all the things I've done, it was not easy. I cried, I was depressed, I had anxiety, I had depression. There were so many things I had to navigate just being into a new country, moving to a new country, experiencing something new, and obviously working and navigating, studying. It was hard.
I know. I can imagine. I can
And-
imagine.
Yeah, it was easier said than done, but at the end of the day, it's been done, but not because I did it because I felt like it was easy. You just like have to really want it. You sometimes have to really want things, and the universe will give it to you. It will.
But then there's a difference between wanting it and like, because I feel like there's like you have to want it and work. But then there's
Yes.
also like when you want something so badly, you're afraid you're going to lose it. And I think that the universe also sees that, or like,
Yes.
whatever. There's an understanding of that.
Yes.
And that's like, you're almost like, I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. Let me overwork. Let me do the, you know what I mean? And I think if
True.
it almost has to be this like confidence that you have.
Yes, and you know, for me, what has been, I'll tell you, it's everything that I've done. I have never been afraid to be seen. I've never been afraid to be seen trying and failing. And that is so important.
Absolutely.
Like, because our biggest like obstacles in everything that I do is fear. The fear of trying, the fear of being seen. These two things are gonna stop you from doing anything if you really want it. And it's all up here. It's all in your
I
head.
know. I know.
And
We
when-
know that.
Yeah, it's all in our head, and we are our biggest critics.
Literally. And yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like we all know that. We all know that, but we need to believe it to do it. Do you know what I mean? Being someone that's like a content creator or podcast, or whatever it is, like posting your stuff.
Yeah.
Anyone and everyone can comment on what you do.
True.
And also it's like we're in a space where it really does kind of like depend on validation from the external, whether we like it or not.
Or not.
We can tell ourselves.
Yes.
We can have our friends say, "Yes, girl, you ate that. Like that was so good." And then you get like, the
Yeah.
likes do matter because then it's also your income.
Yes.
And all of that is attached to it as well. And
Exactly.
it's like, oh my God, if I was in a corporate space and all I had to do was just work really hard, perform well, do all that stuff, like I know the steps that I need to take to get there.
Yes.
But this is such an individual, like, I don't know, it's one of those spaces where there's a formula, but also you have to be yourself.
Yes.
And if you're yourself and people reject it, then what?
Exactly. And how much yourself do you allow people to see?
Yeah.
And that is another part, because obviously these are the intricacies of you navigating that space of just, because I also had to do all of that and just understand that how much of you do you share for you to be relatable, but where
Yes.
is the line that you overshare, where you share too much and then people will then feel obligated or have the right
Entitled to your
yeah,
life.
to your
And-
life and
yeah.
say things and and be talking about things that they feel entitled to comment about.
And that's what I feel like that is such a hard line, because I also don't want to compromise my values. And also, like, I'm not a monkey. Like, I'm not going to just be like, okay, how about I do this? Okay, let me do. No, just I don't want to
Yeah.
do the things that I feel like make me uncomfortable. Otherwise, because then it just makes me feel uncomfortable in this
Yeah.
space. It makes me dread it.
Yes.
And
You don't want to dread what you
no,
love
like I
doing.
love creating it,
Yeah.
but I hate having to like find which part of me is the one that people are going to. That is really taxing, And I think that's what makes being in this space really hard. And you mentioned before that you struggled with depression and anxiety,
Yeah.
and I've seen you post about that. What was that experience like for you? And is that something you still go through now?
I feel like just like probably everyone else, like we all have instances in our lives where we have low,
Yeah,
low,
self-esteem or like
yeah, low self-esteem, and we have points in our lives where we do have a low phase where we struggle with certain things. Like I never knew I had depression until I was like, what is happening with me? Why am I feeling like this? Why do I feel like I constantly have a dark cloud over my head? Um, but obviously, it was all about just understanding what led to it and obviously allowing myself to get help. Because I do think when you are stuck in this, hustle culture of getting what you want, you are you are internalizing, you are suppressing so many things that you need to allow yourself to feel. And though now I would say like it's not something that I feel like I struggle with as much, but you do have instances I'm like, oh, I'm stressed about something,
yeah.
or this thing, is stressing me out, or I feel like it's, there's signs that are creeping back in. But I feel like also it's just understanding that mental health is so important
Yeah.
because we know like we come from African household, like they're like, oh, mental health, you guys are just lazy.
You
Like
guys are
it's
so, yeah.
yeah,
Therapy, oh my God, you
like
guys are so privileged.
we can go in the intricacies of that itself, but it's all about just acknowledging that your mental health matter,
Yeah.
your peace matter,
Yeah.
and you will never be able to do anything if you don't have peace in your mind,
Amen.
and that is so important.
I
Yeah.
really agree with that. And you know,
Yeah.
our parents, I think they had their own ways. They had their own ways. They
Oh,
have the aunties get together. We live in such a hustle culture,
yes.
individual culture.
Yeah.
It's just different for us.
Yes.
So it's like you need to do what you need to do to maintain your mental health.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So for you, like, was it also you got into modeling when
Yeah.
you came here?
Yeah.
That happened. Did that happen intentionally?
That was so a bit of story. My cousin was a fashion designer.
Yeah.
So she was studying fashion design. She's like, you need to become a model. And at the time, I think I told you, like, I already was insecure. I was, like shy. I was all of these things. I was like, there
Yeah.
is no way.
Yeah. But you
So
have the look for it. Like you've got the model look.
So at the time, I tried,
Yeah.
and they said no. So
Okay.
that broke my confidence, and I think I stopped for like a whole 2 years because I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not trying anymore. This is
Yeah.
already just making me feel a certain way because I was like, I put myself out there. They don't want it. That's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about Australia's modeling scene 11 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. You were brave for trying that.
So after that, it was kind of like one of those stories. So I was walking on the street. This lady stopped me. I was walking on Collins Street. I remember that day. If you're watching this, Stella, you're the one that
You that
stopped me.
girl. Yeah.
So she stopped me and she was like, "Can I take a picture of you?" And I thought it was weird.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sure." And then she's like, "Oh, I have a friend coming from America, and I'm legit." That's what she said to me. I'm legit, but you would be perfect for you to shoot this campaign. Are you a model? I was just like, no. And she's like, I'll take your number. I'll send my pictures to my group of friends because I would really want them to see you. And I left it as that. We exchanged Instagram and phone numbers. And then after I told my friends, they're like, oh my God, Jeff, probably was a scam. So I went home not thinking anything out of it. And then like I searched her up. She was actually legit.
Okay.
And I found that Shella, which is, a famous makeup artist, she's worked with so many brands like David Jones, Maya, Mecca. She was big.
Yeah.
And I was then like, oh my God.
This is legit.
This is legit.
Yeah.
And at the time as well, it was the perfect time because not only was I comfortable just being myself, I was also confident just being me. I had confidence,
Love that,
I
yeah.
exuded confidence, and I was like in a very good place just being here, being comfortable in Australia. That
Yeah.
I was just like, let me just give this another go.
Yeah.
And
Did she give you a call?
she did text me, and then she said that she will send my details to obviously the agencies.
Okay.
And then after that, I got signed.
Oh, you got signed
Yeah,
straight away after that.
Got signed, and then I think it was 3 months later. 3 months later, after getting signed, I booked my first major job. I was one of the face for Melbourne Cup.
Wow.
So it happened.
It all happened.
It all happened. And I remember getting the call. I was going to flight school. I literally screamed
I would too. I would too.
because it was so big for
Of
me.
course,
you
of course.
know?
Given your childhood as well and like what
Yeah.
you're going through,
I was like, oh my God, that's a win.
it's a huge win and
Yeah.
it's a huge like career shift as well. For you in that moment, were you just like, all right, this is now what I'm going to focus on? Did you push flight school to the side and then become, what was that?
So at the time, I was just like, let me see where this takes me.
Yeah.
Because you will never miss out on opportunities that has presented themselves at your doorstep.
Yeah.
And if you never try, I'm never going to know.
Exactly.
And yeah, look, I feel like that of itself, modeling was such an important part of my journey and my career, which I'll be forever grateful, because not only did it give me a voice, but it also gave me a platform for me to use that voice and confidence that also started my advocacy. Because I feel like before I didn't say anything, I was very quiet, reserved, but obviously just being confident. And I remember the first time I started speaking up was I was on a shoot, something happened with another black model. And in my head, I was like, this is wrong. There is no way I'm not going to walk out of here and not say anything.
What happened?
And I remember, I think it was like on a shoot, and then there was something said towards the other model that I was with, which was another black model, and comments made about hair. And for me, it just did not sit right with me. I can't remember exactly what was said, but I then went on social media. I was like going on shoots and having to deal with people making comments about your hair, specifically people that don't understand your hair type or texture, is just very disgusting, because I feel like, especially if you're working in a space, you should have experience, not only to work with, black people's hair, but also to understand that there's certain things that you can't say on set.
Yeah, for sure.
And I remember saying that, and that itself, obviously, that whole video of me saying that just kind of like went viral.
Okay.
And it was shared, and I was just like, that felt right.
Yeah.
That felt right. I was just like, that felt right in that moment. And I realized that there's not a lot of us that does that.
There aren't a lot
We're
of people.
so scared.
Because a lot of your career is attached to that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people obviously don't want to. It's hard because when you're in the modeling space,
Yes.
you're in the even in the influencer space, content creator, you are kind of silenced in a lot of ways, because brands don't want to work with someone that's like seemingly difficult or saying something because they don't want to get dragged, or they just don't want to be associated with that.
No.
And I have a few friends that are models, and they've spoken about how it's very, I don't know, it's just disheartening to hear that as a model, you're a black woman, you go to get ready, whatever, for the runway or whatever you're trying to do. They don't have makeup artists that understand your skin type. They don't have hairstylists that understand your texture. I think they're only starting to do that now. But it's like, they've been around for a long time.
A long time.
So can you talk about what that was like for you? So how many years ago did you get signed?
I would say like around 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
Yeah.
So since you've been at the beginning of your journey, did you see a lot of that?
Of course.
Especially talk about Australia,
it's just like my whole experience in Australia was been just been, going in the industry, working as a model, and just seeing these things being done and said, like going on shoots, they're like, you'll have like other models just getting their hair and makeup done. They're like, oh my God, darling, your skin's already perfect. We don't have to do anything with you.
That would frustrate. I hate that.
And I'm like, wait, what? Like, why'd you tell me to come here early? And it was not about me coming here early and getting paid for not getting my makeup done. It was like, how did these people get the exact same treatment that I'm never going to get? But
even that, oh my God, darling, that I just think that's a microaggression in itself.
Is.
Because why are you putting makeup on the other models? But it's you saying, I don't understand how to do your makeup.
Because that's what
Or just saying, like, we all look the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like, or if they try to do your foundation, you're looking ashy.
Yeah.
And it was so many bad experience having to go on set, getting the photographer saying, why is Jeff a little bit pale? And then they're like, oh, we'll just wipe that off. And I once had a shoot that this makeup artist did my shoot. She was, the minute she started talking to me, she's like, I'm obsessed with dark skin. I love doing dark skin makeup. And then when she finished my makeup, I looked like Michael Jackson. I was like, let's wrap it up. Because I was like, let's take that off.
Wipe this off right now. What?
Yeah, it looks really bad. And then she was just very hurt that I said something. But I was just like, this is me. That's how I'm going to present myself in a image that a client's going to use. And I feel like when you're not qualified to do your job, we have every right to say something.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like we always are told that we go there, do our jobs, remain quiet, do not say anything. It doesn't work like that. And not because you're being, difficult.
Yeah.
You know, like it's very hard for us to be labeled as difficult in this industry, but our other like counterparts that works in the industry, they can have an off day, they can have a mental health day, they can have a breakdown. It's okay.
Yeah.
But we always have to be perfect. And I feel like being in this industry has always reminded me that I can't ever have an off day. And I'll tell you something, when I was going through things that affected me mentally, I remember then when I actually had the courage to tell my agent, they're like, we never knew it because you always made yourself perfect. And we never had a client said that you were bad on set. And then I was just like, well, because we don't get to do that. You know, we don't get to have
We're
an
not
off day.
offered the same like grace.
No.
And if you, it's even like there's actually studies on this. Studies on what is it called? I think it was like the adultification of black girls. I saw this, and I think it would relate to black men too. But it's like to a black woman and a black child, a white child crying, they give more grace and almost feel empathy towards the white child because of, I think it's just, I don't know, obviously through like conditioning, they see the white child as innocent and fragile.
Yes.
And that's obviously going to translate to it when you're older as well.
It does.
And it's just so, it's bizarre. And I feel like, again, like we've always been told you need to work twice as hard. You know, when you step into the room, there's already going to be stereotypes put onto you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it would be really hard as well. Again, the whole scarcity mindset of just like you don't want the opportunities to be snatched away from you, which I fully understand why you have to kind of tone it down a little bit. But it's not fair as well.
No,
it's not.
No, because we don't get to choose, but also we don't get to pick. You know, like we don't have options to pick, and we don't get to choose. And I feel like that's how I feel just being a black model in this industry. Like opportunities you get is amazing, but they're scarce. You know, they comes once a year, twice a year, and then what? You know, you talk about you want to be diverse, you want to be inclusive, but you just use, you know, black person one time and then you don't want to use them again. Then what?
Yeah.
It's like brands who who actively say that they're diverse and inclusive, but it's not only at the forefront. Show it everywhere. Like you can't be a diverse brand or a company and not have a person of color in your agency or company. It does not make sense. It's like things like that a lot of these brands do not want to have this conversation because they don't want to admit that these are the areas that actually needs diversity. It needs inclusion because it's not only something that's going to benefit them, but it's going to stop instances of us seeing brand making, you know, racially inappropriate, you know, like themes, comments, or, you know, like garments, or just like they then get canceled and they're like, how did that get passed or approved?
A great example of that was the, I don't know if you saw the Sephora,
I did.
Yeah, the Sephora event that happened this year.
Yes.
Last year's event that happened, horrible. And there were two or three like black influencers there, and they were talking about how like this is a black woman's brand. Fenty is a black woman's brand. And it was just insane to see. Well, it wasn't Sephora, it was Fenty
yes,
event.
I remember that in Sydney.
And, in Sydney. And people were like, what is going on? Like there's no representation here. There's no women of color. No. We're the only ones, and also the space is just, it's very white.
Yes.
They have a black woman now that's working for one of the agencies or something that worked with, is it Max?
It was Max.
Yes.
Max, yeah.
So apparently there's a black woman that's on the team. And that speaks volumes to obviously the representation that was in the room.
Yeah.
But also just how much we need people that are also working behind the scenes, not just in front of the camera and like, you know, because also in front of the camera, we're not being educated. We don't know how much we should be getting or how much, and it's not even money, but it's like what opportunities we should be taking, how we should position ourselves, what they're looking for. When you have people that are like everywhere, that access is going to come in to your community as well.
Yes, because you're also going to be seen behind the scene.
100%.
Not only just at the forefront, which I feel like people always get it confused.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, yes, opportunities are great when you do get access to it, but what about the people who actually works behind the scenes?
Yeah.
They should also be given the same amount of grace and opportunity and also be given the chance for them to actually be in that space. And I feel like the majority of, you know, me speaking about things has always been about that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this fight that people always like to dismiss about why do we have to be diverse and inclusive, it's not about you.
Yeah.
And the reason why you're asking this question is because you've never actually been made to feel not represented.
Yeah.
And most of the question comes from people who are just very uneducated on the aspect of representation matters.
Yeah.
You know, if I grew up and I saw someone doing exactly, you know, what other people that are doing right now, very influential, are in this space, speaking about important things, that would inspire to make me think one day I can also do it.
Yeah.
And that is so important.
It is important. It is. And it shows that, like, I think it really does show when you see people, like, representation does matter. It's the reason why, like, a lot of us can look at someone and say, okay, actually it makes sense for us to be in this space.
Yes.
So I'm going to go and pursue that. But when you were obviously you've had like this experience as a model of just like the lack of diversity in Australia, struggling to kind of come up as a Black model. How are you so vocal? Because you speak a lot about politics, and like, does that affect your career?
Yeah, look, I've always been told to separate the two.
Yeah.
And now that I think of it, that was by far the biggest mistake I've ever made. But obviously, modeling at the time was my bread and butter.
Yeah.
So I had to be the Jeff, just go there, do your job, and not say anything. And that's the reality, because people do perceive you as difficult when you do speak about political issues that actually most of the time does not affect them. It affects you and people from marginalized communities. And I've just had to think about that there are people I do not want to convince. I don't want to convince them to see what I see, because that is not the people that I want to target and impact.
Yeah.
So navigating that has always been difficult, because I've always had instances with my past agent that's told me, oh, you can't speak about these things. It makes you look difficult. You know, brands don't want to work about this. But I'm like, it's not about them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying anything wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I'm talking about the experience of marginalized people.
Yeah.
And also some of these experience that comes from mine and others who've gone exactly what I've gone through. So it has been difficult. I've had instances, I've had talks and calls with people that represented me. I was like, you don't see what I see, and I don't think this is going to work. You know, and I made such a big decision last year, which I did leave, you know, like my past representation because of exactly that. Because I realized that in this industry, you are only good as how much money you make for these businesses. And that's how they see you. And then that was like the part that I was just like, I'm me. You know, I've worked so hard to be me. I've worked so hard to be where I am, to have my voice. And I'm not going to let you who don't understand and don't see what I see take that away from me.
Yeah.
And that is powerful.
It is very powerful, but also, which is like amazing. And I'm happy that you're doing that. And I'm happy that you've built a brand regardless of those obstacles. How does it affect you now? Because I was picking up on what you were saying, and you said something about modeling has been so great for me.
Yeah.
It was this and that. You're kind of talking about it as if it's like the past.
Yes.
And I know you're stepping into like you're speaking now, and like obviously you've probably opened more doors for yourself building your own brand.
Yeah.
Are you moving away from it?
I think I still do modeling. I still have jobs. I still have clients. I still book me. I still have regular jobs.
Yeah.
You know, like that's never going to go.
Yeah.
Because when you have it, you just have it.
Yeah. Okay. Talk about it. You talk your shit, because you said, yeah, I'm still a model. I'm still getting booked.
Yeah. So it's still happening, but obviously it's not the Jeff that I am currently. And I've had to navigate that there are different phases of my life. I've been different people because of different needs and wants.
Yeah.
And in this stage where I see myself, it's something that I do now, but it's not something that embodies who I am. It's a part of my journey, but it does not encapsulate who I am as my identity, because a lot of the things that we do is not who we actually are.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like you can ask yourself, like you can ask me, like, what's your name? My name is Jeff, but, you know, is it my name? It was given to me. You know, it's like things like that. You know, what do you do now? You know, you're a model, but are you just a model? Like it's identities that we give ourselves for different stages. And I feel like modeling, it was very helpful to build my voice, you know, have a career and be in spaces I would dreamt of having. But I've also been able to use that privilege, because I need to always understand that I'm in these spaces because I have privilege. And that is so important. And I also have to understand that I have the privilege of speaking about things not as much as a black woman will be doing exactly what I'm doing, be speaking about what I'm saying exactly, it might be regarded differently.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important for me to understand that there are different intersections in what I do.
Yeah.
And because I'm allowed in spaces for certain reason. And
Okay.
yeah,
And so you want to use that, obviously,
I
for
want to
you.
use
Yeah.
that for
Yeah.
the greater good of what I see. Everything that we've worked to get this far, to get to, to get to do.
Yeah.
Because I do think there is a gap, there is a market, um, and Australia definitely needs that.
Yeah.
And it's not about waiting for people to see when it's ready.
Yeah.
It is ready.
Yeah,
Like,
and it's happening. And that's the thing. It's like a double-edged sword because I
Yeah.
do feel like on one end, Australia isn't ready.
Yeah.
And we keep saying that.
Yeah.
But what keeps me going is that I feel like we've shifted to kind of like community-based media. And like,
Yes.
do you know what I mean? I think
Yes.
people, there's not like a central point for media anymore. We're not going to radio the same
No.
way we used to go to, or television. I think people are creating their own.
Yes.
And it really matters on the people that kind of also follow you, and then
Yes.
brands and organizations follow
Yes.
suit. So if you can do it really well and be an expert, this is from what I've observed.
Yes.
I feel like there's a market. You can create a market in that. Do you know what I
create
mean?
A market.
Yeah.
Like
It's
sometimes it's not about having people ready. It's about you being ready.
Yeah.
And I think that is important
100%.
because you don't always need to wait for people to give you the opportunity for you to do things. You can build your own door.
You can.
You can.
And you're a testament to that. So I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. You're killing it.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk to you. So obviously now you're going into speaking as well, right? So
Yes.
this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
When you say that, are you going into like organizations,
Yes.
schools?
So yeah,
Yeah.
I want to do a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
I want to like actually just be and speak and not only share my experience, but other voices that has not heard.
Yeah.
And I think that is very important. We learn so much from hearing from the voices of people that don't get the same opportunity and platform as what some of us do. And I think that has impact, that has power.
Yeah.
And that lacks in Australia, that lacks the community. And especially when we see and hear things, a lot of people don't have a voice to actually bring it to the aspect of bringing this topic that are very important that needs to be talked about. So I definitely will be doing more. I want to do organization, speaking, panels, which I'll be very more involved in. And yeah, like even like host seminars of just like having, like very prominent, influential, people of color in Australia that are making change, that are bringing some very important, how do I say it, value to society that a lot of people don't know about. Because at the end of the day, we're not only black people in Australia. We are, we are advocates. We are, professionals. We are creatives. We are doing great. We're actually impacting and making change. And I think what's more important is we always have to remember that we need to take up space.
Yeah.
Take up space. Always.
Amen. I love it. I love it. I can't wait to see where you take it. I see how passionate you are, and I feel like we really need more people with that passion and drive, and just have the ones that have access as well. So I'm going to be following this journey.
Thank you.
The other thing I wanted to move on and talk to you about. This is a bit of a controversial topic that I saw online, and I actually saw you post about it.
Yeah.
So there is an adult star.
Yes.
Her name is Bonnie Blue.
Yeah.
She's a 25-year-old British adult star, and she was banned from entering Australia over a plan to record at schoolies.
Yes.
Okay. So I was like, the controversy with this woman. There's so many things to it. And the angle that I wanted to talk about was the fact that she has been like creating OnlyFans content for a while.
Yeah.
And she's come, her platform, the tagline that she uses, I think is really disturbing, is that she is coming to basically fuck
Yeah.
barely legal
Yeah.
barely legal schoolish 18-year-olds. Yeah. The weirdest tagline. And I feel like, is it like a sex kink that is she doing that for that reason?
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to hear your opinion on the ban. Yeah.
All right. So when I saw it, like someone shared it to me about like her video that I saw that she was advertising that she was going to schoolies, and I was just like, let me just have a look.
Yeah.
And when I saw the video, I was just like, okay, like this is very interesting because the language used within this segment of these videos posting was just, like we said, very disturbing.
Very disturbing.
And for me, like it was not about what she was doing. It was about the aspect that she specifically targeted barely 18 and 18-year-olds, which has everything wrong to do with, 18s and teenagers. They're very new to the scene because they're very fresh legal adults.
Literally.
And obviously a lot of them don't have experience,
Yeah.
with obviously these sexual activities. And I feel like the fact that she specifically targeted
Yeah.
that itself is exploitive.
Yeah.
Because she's also going to make money out of it on her platform, which again, she's explained and said that, like people are going to sign consent forms and breathalyzer tests. But we need to understand that in society, we're not shaming people for doing what they do. It's the way that you do it. And it's the way that you conduct yourself doing it, which I think that is everything wrong, and hence why she got banned, because I think it was because she was working in Australia illegally.
Yeah.
But obviously the backlash online, people have had mixed reviews because people think that when we talk about it, we're shaming her, but it was about the exploitative behavior that results to people using language as such as she was using to blur the line when it comes to consent. Because consent, even though it's consensual, they're signing papers, they're doing this, they're doing that. We don't know what happens behind closed doors, and we don't know if someone can change their mind, what can happen, and just because someone has signed a form and said that they're going to do this, we've heard stories before.
Yeah.
You know?
It is, for me, it's the exploiting part. Because I feel like
Yes.
to me, they're minors, or they could be, I mean, they're not minors legally. I know by law they're not, but I don't know, like developmentally, like I just feel like you're using, obviously when you're talking about the technicalities,
Yeah.
whenever we're talking about that, there's always a loophole.
Yes.
Yes, they're 18 years
Yes.
old. Yes, they can technically have sex. Yes, you have consent forms. But what is like morally correct and ethical? You know what I mean? I just
Yes.
feel like it does seem a little bit unethical
Yes.
for you to be specifically targeting it. What makes it sick as well is specifically targeting schoolies.
Yes.
Because the type of people. It's giving like fresh meat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very, very scary. And I think also the part that kind of like, another part that I feel like it's exploiting people is that she's going there, she's having free sex, she's offering free sex, right? But she's also talking on podcasts about how much money she's making from these videos.
Yes.
And I saw something where I think she said $500,000.
Yes.
Was it pounds?
Yes.
£500,000 a month.
Yes.
I don't know. I just think it's wrong. I think
Yes.
it's, and again, like you said, it's not the work that you're doing. It's the demographic you're targeting.
Yes, and it's the way you're going about doing it.
Yeah.
And also, I want to add, like, she talks the legality of it. Let's talk about legal aspect, because if you go in a country that the legal age of, adult or consent is 16, 15-year-olds, are you going to go then feel content with 15, 16-year-olds? Like, does that make sense? Just because something is legal does not mean that it's morally okay.
It's not,
and ethically, something that you would do. And I think we owe ourselves and also the younger people generation the respect to not participate in these things that blurs the lines, where you do have this blurred line of consent. You also have this line of exploitation that obviously you give them a misrepresentation of what these acts actually should be.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. I just think it's you need to have you need to be responsible at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Take accountability. It's not just because you can make money, let me make the money. And I think it's just come off as like this lighthearted, fun thing. And she's doing like a whole media tour now talking about it as if like, just talking. I think she's focusing so much on the fact that people, obviously she feels like maybe she's not being respected for her work.
Yeah.
And also that it's technically legal. And I'm just like, okay, but we have common sense. So let's apply that.
Exactly. And the reason why she's getting so much press and doing all these tours, I've talked about this on my page. It goes into the aspect of white feminism. When white women, do participate in, portraying how they talk about sex work online, it's empowerment, it's taking control over my body. But if it's a person of color, black woman, indigenous, it's regarded as no.
hypersexual. It's regarded as like low. You're degrading yourself.
Yes. Yep.
And you see it, you also see it with a Blue-Eyed Jade.
Oh
Blue-Eyed Jade, which is another one.
Yes.
I also think it's interesting how like I guess for me, I don't have a great understanding of sex work, and like I think for me it's interesting now how it's become an empowering conversation.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's also like, again, it's just like territory that I don't understand, I don't know yet, and that's your line of work, which is interesting as well. It's interesting, so because when I see someone like Blue-Eyed Jade, I don't have the same like a frustration towards her when I see. I think it's also the personality trait. You're pissing me off because you're exploiting kids, and you're talking about the money you're making, and you're just kind of like confident about what you do, and you're comfortable sharing that, right?
Yes, it's like different people existing in the same space, but they make their content differently because again, they perceive differently. Not because they want to, because that's who they are, and I feel like that's where the difference is. And yes, it also goes into that intersectionality that a lot of these things overlap because yes, we see Blue-Eyed Jade differently because of how she portrays herself. And we see obviously Bonnie Blue differently because of how obviously she used specific language that is exploitive, that is blurring the line of consent. And I feel like at the end of the day, when you have a platform, when you do share things, you do need to take the responsibility that your action has consequences.
Absolutely.
And though you might not think that it's hurtful or it's actually going to have a negative impact, you are not the public and you are not people that's going to be consuming this content. And for you to have a moral superiority to dictate that, it's just very, it's just very irresponsible.
It is. Be mindful. And I think also to the people that bring them on and like share their content, I'm like, it's not clickbait all the time. Let's be mindful about, just the type of, the type of people that they're exposed to, the young men that are coming into these spaces. It's just, it's. I also wonder, like, when you're doing the consent forms, is she like, do you think she specifically wants 18-year-olds? Like, what are you doing right now? When people are lined up, because she talks about how they queue up and things like that, like, do you only want people in a specific bracket?
Like, it's just, I don't know, to be honest. I feel like the whole, I don't know. I feel like there's so many things we can go about having this conversation, but I feel like also we need to take responsibility that though what she's doing is definitely wrong, like there's always this, not sense of same accountability that is given to the men that are participating in allowing her to do what she's doing, because they also need to be held accountable. If they're not participating, she's
not doing it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yes.
For sure. And I don't even. Yes, you're right. There needs to be, and to be honest, I didn't even, because I feel like I'm already thinking like that. I have this mentality that, the bar is so low for me when it comes to men. Like, I just feel like I'm more, I think it's just so low for me that conversation wasn't even like top of mind. But it's like, you're right. The men also shouldn't be lining up and doing that. Like, it's disgusting that they're doing that. Yeah. But we know that. We know that they move in that way. I think it's just, it's also a power dynamic as well, though, with the age thing. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm not even excusing either or behavior, but I feel like the power dynamic of like you're mid to late 20s, and then you're going for people that are just fresh out of school. I think that also makes it like, it adds another layer of like it being exploitive. Yeah. But and also I just think also these guys are gross and sick. Yeah. But also you have to be mindful of what you say because of the line of work. Like, there's so many things that go into this.
There's the intricacies of speaking about these things, and I do understand that sometimes we do need to think about how obviously something that's been done for years does.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like I can't say that it's like, I've heard of guys doing this and it has nothing to do with sex work. It's just men being men and women being like, let's go like gang. Yeah. But it's like, it's organized. She knows it's happening. They know it's happening. Yeah. I'm looking at the men sideways in that situation. I'm looking at her side. I'm looking at both of them in that way. In this situation, this is like technically, I guess it's professional, it's work.
Yeah.
So it's it's hard to talk about that aspect of it.
Yeah, because she still has control over it.
Yes.
Because she's the one that's going to still be selling it,
Yeah.
Like she still has,
Yeah,
the
she's
control.
very aware of what she's doing. Yeah. It's a very tricky one, but I did see that and I was like, yeah, I definitely side-eyed the situation, and I feel like Australia banning it, it's kind of like, yeah, you guys did something like something right, but it was yeah, I just saw you post about it and I was like, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next segment. This segment is called Bitter or Sweet. Okay, so I'm gonna give you these paddles. And I'm going to give you a couple scenarios and I want you to vote bitter or sweet. Bitter meaning you disagree. And sweet meaning you agree. First question here is, bitter or sweet, moving in together after a year of dating? Sweet. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like if it's like a year, I'll give it a pass, because I feel like a year, maybe you haven't understood each other fully.
Yeah.
But I feel like moving together after a year sounds logical.
Sounds sweet.
Yeah.
I'm going to say bitter.
Bitter?
I want to give me a ring.
Okay. All right. Okay. Oh.
Give me a ring and then we'll move on to... Let's talk about marriage.
Okay, true.
Because I just feel like I love my personal space.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I'm in a relationship, we're always going to be around each other.
And giving up that, yes.
But that's just me.
Yeah.
I know some people love that, like closeness. All right. Next one. Bitter or sweet, sharing your plans and dreams with people. Okay, talk about it.
I don't think everyone needs to know what your plan and dream is. Not because people are not allowed to. I feel like you don't share everything with everyone. Because I say it from from a place of experience. There are people who are very close to you.
But, yeah.
Like it's always the ones that are close to you that obviously most of the time will hurt you the most. Because they know things about you, they know your dreams and goals and ambition, and sometimes people will use that against you. And I've just had to navigate that space of, there are things that you don't say to everyone, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're not sharing your life fully to them.
Yeah.
I feel like you also have to have boundaries.
You have to have boundaries. And I fully understand that as well. Like, it's something that my parents used to say growing up, like, just slow down and you don't need to. But you don't realize, one, there are some people that aren't always happy with your success, which is really scary.
It is.
You know what I mean? You should be cheering. Like, I don't know, it's weird when you have, because you see the other side. Like, I have friends that just, there's no other option.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're gonna win.
Yeah.
And it's just weird when when you see the other side where, and it's always subtle. It is always subtle. But you're right. The whole, what's the saying? Keep your enemies close. Keep your friends, anyway. I don't know. I know the sayings, but I just never know how to whip them out of my mind. Keep your
friends close and your enemy closer. Keep your
enemies close and your friends closer. Yeah. Because sometimes your friends, they'll be doing a shifty. They'll be doing a shade.
I know.
So it's scary, but also in general, I think when you speak too soon about your plans, I think sometimes it also stops you from doing it. Or just sometimes you just gotta just put your head down and like do the work and let it speak for itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes just saying things and because people have opinion. Either you ask them or not, they'll still tell you.
That's what it is. And sometimes they don't understand the vision.
No.
They don't understand what you're trying to do. And that's okay. Sometimes people just need to see it to understand it, or if people can't see it for themselves or can't see, that happening, then they're not going to understand what you're trying to do. Yeah. And it just might push you away or discourage you from doing it. Yes. So I think I'm going to say bitter as well. Yeah. Okay. This is the final segment. It's a dilemma.
Okay.
So every week we get sent in dilemmas from our listeners. And this one starts by saying, my boyfriend is overbearing.
Okay.
Hey, I've been feeling really conflicted lately. I've always been someone who values independence, but my partner is very emotionally dependent on me. They often rely on me to support them in ways that feel overwhelming, and I'm starting to feel drained. I want to be there for them, but I also need to take care of myself. How do I set healthy boundaries without feeling like I'm abandoning them or being selfish? Am I being unreasonable for needing space, or is it okay to prioritize my own space?
I think she's valid. obviously, because I do think sometimes you can't just like leave everything just to do things for other people, because you need to like also prioritize you.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you need to always sometimes think about you. No one's gonna think for you,
Yeah.
No one's gonna be thinking about what you should be doing, with your life. And if you need space, or if you need some
Yeah.
time for yourself, you
Yeah.
have to prioritize that. And I think, what she is saying is valid, because she needs to be able to just set some healthy boundaries first. Because I
Which
feel
is
like
how do you do that?
I think boundaries itself starts from yourself.
Yeah.
When you set healthy boundaries with yourself,
Yeah.
that's when you're actually comfortable setting with other people.
Absolutely. Okay, I like that.
And
And I agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's nothing personal.
Yeah. It is
No.
nothing. And when you're somebody who is, I guess like we use the word people pleaser thing, but there's other things to it. It's like when you're someone who kind of like, I guess you want to please people, you want to make sure that people are comfortable in your space.
Course.
You tend to do that. You're like,
Yes.
okay, it's okay for me to feel a little bit burdened with this right now. Let me just help this person.
Yeah.
That's where you need to switch.
Yes.
You need to kind of, be able to put your foot down and be okay with making people unhappy for the moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes we put so much, effort into the feeling of disappointing people that we're just making ourselves feel miserable. How are you feeling? And I always say this: treat people how you want to be treated. And it's true. If people are doing things to you that you not do to them, that's it. Like that itself should be a boundary.
Yeah.
That should be very healthy that you could set. Because I feel like sometimes we do take things from other people because we don't have boundaries, because we don't respect ourselves, because we let things pass, but also we don't have boundaries with ourselves to understand that I would never do this to me. Why would I be taking it from you?
Yeah. And that's hard though. It's hard to like
hard.
to work that out. So with this dilemma, I would say to her, like, first of all, you need to have a conversation with your partner.
Exactly.
Because the overbearing, I get it. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you're doing a lot.
I can consume you.
And when you're someone that's like, especially if your attachment styles are different and you're just like, I'm not someone that needs to constantly be stimulated by, I'm someone that really values my like alone time.
Your peace.
Yeah, I can't be with you 24/7. I need to have my own life
Yeah.
and you have your own life, and then we just come together.
Yeah.
So
That's good. That's healthy.
that's healthy, but I feel like, some people also see it as like, a lot of people also love to be with their partner 24/7.
Yeah.
And if your styles are different, I think you need to let them know and then assess. Like you need to assess, girl, because if this is, I think, be open with your partner and let them know that you're not comfortable with like them just constantly being in your space.
Yes.
And I feel like that's hard to say to
Yeah.
someone, but I think you can just again put the boundaries up, like let them know, and then also say like, I'm not I can't help you in this moment, or
Yes.
I don't have the space to help you, which is so robotic, but sometimes it really is that. I just
Sometimes-
don't
yeah.
have the capacity to
Don't
talk
have the
right now.
capacity.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm closed.
But true, sometimes
Yeah.
you have to say it, and I feel like it's like pretty much like how you navigate life. There is nothing that you want say to someone. Like, what's the worst thing? What's the worst thing that you might say to someone that, if it's coming from a good place, that you want to tell them that you don't have the courage to tell them? What might it lead to? Them being hurt, you take the responsibility. If you've hurt them, you acknowledge it. Them being told the truth, then, because I feel like sometimes when you bear things that you feel, oh my God, I don't know how to say this, or it hurts you more.
Yeah.
Like that holds you more back. It makes you more heavy, and you don't want to like have resentment and hold on to things that just, it's not healthy.
And you end up like really resenting them, or just like
Yeah.
not feeling empathy when you need to feel empathy,
Yeah.
babe. You've closed that emotion. And
You
I think when
have.
someone, think about when someone is suffocating you, eventually you're just like, go away.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's healthy in a relationship, because
No.
I don't know. I think also maybe like you need to sit down with your partner and try to understand them a little bit deeper and know where it's coming from. Tell them your boundaries. But I feel like sometimes when you have a better understanding of someone, you can also give them the
True.
empathy,
Yeah.
but just, let them know that you need your space. It's just a conversation.
Communicate.
Communication.
Always.
Yeah.
Just communicate. Let them know how you feel, because obviously they're not going to be like a clairvoyant.
Yeah.
To think about what you're thinking, which is true.
It is. It's facts. Thank you for sending that in. For anyone else that wants to send in your dilemmas, you guys can send them through all the links in our bios on socials. It's bittersweet.podcast. Jeff, you've been amazing.
Thank you.
This has been such a good, I felt so comfortable speaking to you the whole time.
Yeah, me too.
This is good. Love it. So see you here next week, yeah? Where can people find you on socials?
All right, you can find me on TikTok,
Yeah.
which I go by Blonde Jeff, or Instagram. I go by my full name, Jeffrey Kissubi, or Jeff Kissubi, or Instagram or TikTok.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe on YouTube because the channel is growing and we need you guys to keep supporting. And give us a rating on Spotify. And we will see you guys again next week. Bye.